Good afternoon, or is a warm, bright and sunny day. It is Friday, 9th of June. I'm in the reading up with a nice hot cup of tea. And parcel to continue unboxing. So I've already pulled out the Glim Dragon, basically the hybrid solo adventure book, Species Guide, Shakdar and Wraithen. What I have got here is a copy of Rivers of London, the role-playing game based on the novels by Ben Aaronovitch, designed by Paul Fricker, Lynn Hardy and friends. And this is a signed copy, and it's actually a special signed copy because I have managed to get some extra signatures in there for those some of the authors whom you will see at the back of this book. So I think becoming a wizard is about discovering what's real and what isn't. Ben Aaronovitch, Rivers of London. Magic has returned to our world. In London, officers of the Folly, the Metropolitan Police Service's Special Magic Branch, take to the streets to solve cases, catch criminals, and come to grips with the demi-monde, those who have been irreversibly changed by magic. Rivers of London, the role-playing game, is based on the hugely successful series of novels by Ben Aaronovitch. You play newly recruited members of the Folly, and together you solve mysteries and explore Newtonian magic against the backdrop of a vibrant and exciting modern London. Okay, includes setting information and history, including details of how Newtonian magic works in Rivers of London, plus spells derived from those in the novels, all the rules you need to play Rivers of London, including character creation, character advancement, and advice for the game moderator, a solo adventure, The Domestic, designed to introduce players to the world of the Rivers of London, and the mechanics of the game, details on policing in London and how criminal investigations are carried out, the bookshop, a standalone adventure that further introduces players to the game and the magical world of Rivers of London. So that's quite a lot in there. So, let's just say, first off, we've got those signatures, and then we have a forward from multiple persons. Sorry, I'm just trying to hold that properly. So, Ben Aaronovitch, Lynn Hardy, Paul Fricker. Before we get an introduction to collaborative storytelling, now this is actually quite fun, because you've got the cast of the novels there sat round the table in the Folly, and they're actually playing a role-playing game, and not any old role-playing game, but Call of Cthulhu. The original investigative role-playing, which to a certain extent this is derived from, since both Lynn Hardy and Paul Fricker work on Call of Cthulhu content. So this, the origins of this game, at least mechanically, sort of lie in Call of Cthulhu and of course basic roleplay, although I gather this is actually a much more streamlined version of the rules than in Call of Cthulhu. Right, so that's quite lengthy, and essentially you can download all these the character sheets they actually created for the game, so you can actually use those in your game. You have an explanation of the setting, the dice you're going to need, what you need to play, notes on the British class system, glossary of terms, and the domestic. Start here, getting into the setting and laying the groundwork, and this is the solo adventure which will get you involved in the game and teach you how to play, because the point of this game is not just for me to go and play in the Rivers of London because I'm already a role player, but for fans of Rivers of London who are not role players to get involved in the game itself. This is that adventure is going to teach them how to play the game and how it works. And of course, Chaosium has formed here, as they say, having designed solo adventure scenarios to teach the rules in both the Call of Cthulhu starter set, and then of course in the RuneQuest role-playing in Glorantha starter set. So we've got a solo adventure here. Much of this will be familiar if you're already a role player, and certainly if you are a fan of either Call of Cthulhu or the basic roleplay system. We've got quite a lengthy solo scenario which runs to, let's have a look, You've got 111 entries there, so that should keep you occupied for a good hour or so, you know, just going through all the permutations. And then we have creating a character. We've got a nice shot of outside the folly. We've got Peter Grant there, and his boss, and so on. And no, I've got a couple of points here. So essentially, this will be, we've got 2 boxes here: GM advice and additional rules throughout. And we're talking about occupation, investigator occupations there. How to design values, and then a nice little bit of shot of Russell Square tube station, which is sort of like vaguely near where the folly is. Guidelines of what the rules mean, what the numbers mean, and so on. Skills, beginnings of the skills list, the box there, and you've got a running example of character creation just there. As well as advantages. That's another one that isn't in Call of Cthulhu, unless you play Pulp Cthulhu. So, you know, this can be connected or rich, wealthy, so on. There are just a few there. How to handle the firearm skill in the game. And you've got an example of a player character created there. And notably, the firearm skill is how it's handled in Rivers of London is important because, of course, the United Kingdom is not an armed society, and the various British police forces, police constabularies, including the Metropolitan Police, are not an armed police force. This is not to say they don't have weapons or they don't have access to weapons, but they don't commonly wander around with guns strapped to their hips, as it were. So what else have we got? We've got a list of occupations, and so there are explanations. You can be a computer specialist, criminal, farmer, driver, doctor of medicine, and some of them marked with rivers. So essentially that means, you know, like a firefighter or a librarian. They're particularly suitable for inclusion in a game of Rivers of London. So just like Call of Cthulhu, you have occupations which are particularly Lovecraftian. Here they are particular rivers. Here we've got a shot of the inside the British Museum. Here we have skills. Just a mouthful of tea, I think, at this point. And there's the skills list. It's not extensive. One of the things you'll see noted here is at the end of every entry is examples of pushing and consequences of failed rolls after push, if the pushed roll is fails. So, for example, history, conducting further research, consulting another expert, hiring assistants, etc. That's how you facilitate a pushed roll. But consequences of failing a pushed roll, you know, your consultations alert your adversaries who become aware of your intent. Your facts are erroneous and lead you into danger, or much time and effort and money is wasted on fruitless research. Basic rules. And pretty much as a percentile system, you will be familiar with it from Call of Cthulhu and, as I say, basic roleplay. What else we got? We also have luck. rules for luck, how to spend, not to spend. They are, so very much like Call of Cthulhu. Keep going back to this. See what else we got. We have. I'm just trying to turn the page. Investigative development phase. This is how your character grows and changes. So advice for that. Then handling combat expectations in Rivers of London. Combat is fast. Investigators have an edge, and defeat rarely means death. So, okay, let's flipping through this. You can have combat maneuvers, and then we've got an extended combat example. Very nice, very useful for those new to the game or role playing. Certainly coming to it from either a different game or having never role played. This includes an example of using multiple shots, so firing multiple shots with guns. So flipping through. We've got chase rules and a full chase example. And in some ways, I'm hoping the chase example does explain the rules, because obviously the chases are a little bit difficult to handle. And then we get on to Newtonian magic, which is one of the features of the Rivers of London setting. And likely, if you are not new to role playing, this will require careful study upon the part of the game master to understand, so that in order to basically impart it to his players who will be using magic. Not every character will. And we've got table of clues, examples from Vestigia, that left over by in the wake of magic being cast. So different kind of signares. Essentially, those are the traces that you leave when you cast magic. So it might be the rustling of newspaper, a smell, Belgian chocolate, or other sensations, the taste of a fresh orange, for example. And then we get on to Newtonian spells, and we do have notes in here where Ben steps in and he gives his opinion upon this, because Ben Aaronovitch himself has been fascinated with role-playing. He has role-played, he's played this, and he's always wanted to see a percentile-style game for Rivers of London. One of the questions we're going to remember putting to him is, when are you going to see a role-playing game based on this? And then there were photographs of Lynn Hardy sat with him, and it went, okay, we'll see where this goes. So we've got rules in here, so for spellcasting and combat, pushing a spellcasting roll, and so on. Then we have a list of all the spells and their orders, so the spell list, and then sort of like the Impello spell tree, so you can essentially work your way down this learning spells in an organic fashion. So you've got Impello, Wearlight, because one of the things that does happen in the novels is you can see Peter learning magic, experimenting with magic, and gaining grips with it. So then we have the shield spell trees, so on. And then bringing to Rivers of London to life. This is, dealing with things like law enforcement, so criminal investigations. There's a full list of equipment that you will carry as a constable. So, for example, let's have a look. So, a typical Met Officer's equipment list there. And then a typical Met Officer's Detectives bag, which will be different again. We have discussion of police powers. And a glossary of common police acronyms and slang. So you always throw those in, and that will add verisimilitude to your game. Then we have game moderator advice. Someone very basic on how to run the game, issues with players, flashbacks, that sort of thing. Greg's gallery, and this will provide stats and details for various characters. So we start off with Peter Grant himself, then Thomas Nightingale, Sarah Galeed, Harold Post Martin. So we, basically the various characters that appear in the novels, as you would expect. Dr. Abdul Haq Al-Walid, Abidal Kamara. So this is quite up to date. You've got with the appearance of I don't want to lose that. That's the map. I'll show you at the end. So Abigail Kamara, who is Peter Grant's half cousin, and then various minor characters. See whether it includes the German characters. It doesn't, that I can see. Then we get into the creatures, the demi-monde and other beings. That includes, of course, Beverly Brooke, Peter's partner, Foxglove, the artist, Lady Cecilia Tyburn Thames. So you've got the various the various rivers as well. They play so much an important part. Before we get into more generic kind of the creatures that the game moderator can bring into play, and then there's Grifter Zachary Palmer towards the end. We've got a guide to London. So essentially this is a guide to really sort of the general background and history of the folly and magic, and you've got case seeds throughout, and as a source book we have a floor plan of the folly there. I suppose something that fans of the setting have wanted for a very long time. And you can see how extensive a building it is, because it's got 3 floors. Actually 4 floors plus the roof. And then a guide to Greater London and beyond, with this map. So just lots of text here, describing the various locations and the rivers. So for example, we've got discussion there of the fleet. The bookshop, which is an introductory case for the player characters. And you've got the spine of it there. Actual proper ground floor map there of the folly again. Location of Stonewalter's bookshop, and there's the map go. Pick that up again. Okay, so yep, full adventure here. You've got the cast at the end. And we have additional rules, so advanced character generation, with more you can add in disadvantages as well as advantages. Rules for new occupations, handling out of character versus in character knowledge, because obviously if you're a fan of the books you'll know a lot more than your character necessarily does. Options here for playing Fey characters, discussion of magic. I mean, just optional stuff in here, and then advice for writing a case file, and that's for the game master. You have an appendix A ready to play investigator, so you can get started playing with a solo adventure at the front of the book, or combine to play with the bookshop scenario. So here we are with those. And then we've got an appendix of rules summary, or summaries I should say, and a bibliography. It covers more than just Rivers of London book series. Maps and handouts for both the adventures, and more, index, of course, and let's have a look. Investigator sheets. There we go. And we have contributor bios, which are nicely done. You don't get to see them like this for standard role-playing games. So that's everyone. Almost. Okay. I've got the map. And what I will do just before, because apologies, just need to blow my nose. Shouldn't have to do that, but unfortunately, hay fever. I do apologise. And then we've got the map, which I will show you now. This just slipped out. So this is the map of London. Wouldn't perhaps it'd be nice if there'd been a map of the Folly on the back, but you can't have everything. There we go. So that is the Rivers of London role-playing game from Chaosium. I should thank Fabio Volano for picking this up for me and arranging it to be delivered. So, hope you've enjoyed this unboxing in the Nook. If you have, then please do click on the like button down below. And of course, if you've got any comments or feedback, I do appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to get more unboxings in the Nook, where you will see me out here with a box containing a book or game, which I will unbox and chat about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all of course accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea. Then please do click on the subscribe button down below. Thanks again for watching another unboxing in the Nook. Be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.